My name is Skylar McLeod, and I'm the Director of Media Education at BRIC. BRIC is the leading arts and media organization located in downtown Brooklyn. For over 40 years, BRIC has shaped Brooklyn's cultural and media landscape by presenting and incubating artists, creators, students, and media makers. We are the public access station for the borough, so you're going to hear some very diverse voices tonight. I'm so excited to welcome you to our Practice Your Pitch event, which is part of the 2020 BRIC Pitch Series. Now in its fourth year, this series is meant to help our community take their film and television projects to the next level by offering advice and guidance from industry experts. Tonight, we'll be hearing from 7 people pitching their projects. Each person will have 4 minutes to show their reel and pitch their project, and then we'll get feedback and comments from our distinguished panel. I would like to now turn it over to Keisha Elan Cole, supervising producer at BRIC TV, who will moderate tonight. Keisha.
Hi, thanks so much, Sky. How are you? How's everybody doing? You know, a wise pitch guru once said, mediocre ideas pitched well, beat out great ideas pitched poorly. And there it is. It's one thing to conceive of your awesome ideas for the next hit digital series or feature film. And it's another thing to successfully convey that idea to the gatekeepers ready or not to finance your project. And we filmmakers, both aspiring and accomplished, know just how crucial the pitch process is. I'm Keisha Elan Cole, multi-hyphenated supervising producer here at BRIC TV. And I have an uber illustrious panel of brilliant multi-hyphenated producers virtually here with us tonight. We have Elaine Devalle, and everybody just, please turn on your cameras. Tony Gerber, Michael A. Pinckney, and we are expecting soon Stacy Mohammed, who is, doing the thing. How are you guys doing tonight? I think we lost, we lost Michael. And while we're trying to figure that out, having this live and direct as it is, there you go. Can I ask you all to, I know this might be a little bit corny, but can you all give like a elevator pitch of yourselves as we go around? I don't want to ramble on and read all of your long and awesome bios, but if you can just, I don't know who wants to go first. Tony?
Ooh, put me on the spot. My mic on?
Yes.
All right. I have a production company in New York and Brooklyn called Market Road Films. We've been around for almost 20 years. My partner is Lynn Nottage, playwright and screenwriter. We cultivate all sorts of projects. We've done a lot of nonfiction, a lot of documentary, a lot of National Geographic. We recently launched a podcast on Stitcher called Deep South about conspiracy of silence in a small southern town. And we are writing screenplays. We are writing episodic television. We are nurturing new voices. And, fundamentally, we believe in stories that are character driven and stories that are typically not getting told. That's what we look to do, to find the beach that no one has been to.
And I love that beach, and we all love Lynn, and thanks so much for being here. So next, Michael A. Pinckney.
Hello, good evening. My name is Michael A. Pinckney. Some people call me Boogie. I got my start as an assistant director, working on Precious, Inside Man, worked with Spike for a lot of years before I transitioned into writing and directing. Doing web series, one of them was on BRIC TV, Soul Kings, pilots. My feature film was You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You, distributed by Lionsgate and executive produced by Spike. And I'm happy to be here.
So happy to, see you again. We worked together on Soul Kings, and we also worked together, Elaine and I, with an upcoming project that we're super excited about, but please.
Hi, my name is Elaine Del Valle. I began my career as an actress, and I felt very frustrated at the lack of roles that were available for people of color, Latinas, and I began writing, and it led me to writing what became an award-winning one-woman autobiographical show, and it really showed me the power that I had within myself to tell the stories that I wanted to express and for people to see and to have out there. Authentic voices that represent true Latino experiences. And with that, I transitioned into a director, producer, writer. I have a couple of films on HBO, more than a couple. And yeah, I have some really big news coming out soon that I can't really talk about, but also recently produced The United Space of America with Keisha for BRIC TV, headed by William D. Caballero.
Nice. I can't wait for you. It's just such, you know, we're just sitting on all these, you know, awesome projects. So good to see you straight from Miami, I'm assuming.
Yes, Miami right now.
It's getting cold here. What else? Anyway, in terms of your pitching now, you guys have obviously been on both sides of the table and in those situations. What can you talk about some like personal great pitch experiences as opposed to some not so successful experiences? Like Elaine, I'm wondering about you too specifically because you are a trained actress and an awesome actress, and she also acts in, you know, the upcoming USA. But how has that helped your process of pitching? Because you're everywhere and.
Well, I think I feel really comfortable with myself, so I'm always able to present something that I believe in. And up until very recently, like this year, really, I have been mostly pitching the work of other people. I just find it easier to talk about that. And this year I really took the reins and said, okay, it's time for my stuff, because my stuff is as good as their stuff. And that's where it really started to change for me and things really took off. So yeah, I've always been really comfortable expressing ideas that I believe in. And sometimes that might be seen as actually a negative because they'll feel like I'm so polished. And really, I'm just speaking off the cuff. I'm hardly ever rehearsed on it, although I do practice and I do know I do know the projects that I present. But every pitch is different depending on who it is that you're pitching to and what it is that you're pitching for. And of late, I just recently really learned how to pitch to network. And that was a whole other animal. It was something that I wasn't at all, you know, trained in. It wasn't at all what I was expecting. And I really learned so much. It's just a whole other animal and I'm so glad to know it. And I was extraordinarily successful in it, so.
What changed? I mean, how did it get elevated? Because I know I'm coming from the indie space and, you know, how does it become like a totally different beast, and what more did you feel like you had to prep and bring to the table in those situations?
Well, what changed is that I learned the exactly how. I was lucky enough to be supported by a successful team, and that team, you know, now I have a showrunner, executive producers, all of these people who have done it before, done it successfully, very successfully, and given me the benefit of their knowledge. And collaborating, learning from them is what really changed for me, because I used to think that, you know, like a pitch to network is like putting together my deck, here it is, talking about it a little bit, but it really was nothing like that. It was less visual and more talking and them getting to know me. And I had to be able to finally be able to really talk about myself. What did I bring to the table? What did I bring to this project that was so uniquely like me?
Right.
So you have to, the way that you craft a pitch is really learn how to talk about yourself in such a way that it makes people want to get to know you more, want to work with you more, believe in you, and make that pretty fast, and then make it align with the project that you're pitching.
Right.
So that it becomes like, you are the best person to tell this story, and here's why. So those things, and then with the network thing, it's definitely, you have to know the pilot right down to the, like every single scene, because
Right.
it's a turn by turn that you're pitching when it comes to a pilot. So everything is a little bit different, but with network, that's what it was. And my game definitely elevated through the help of others that were willing to share with me everything that they had under their belt.
Well, we feel so lucky because now you get to share it with us. I always feel that about being around you. Tony, you pitched, I don't know if you pitched or how you got your awesome series, The White Wolf, onto Nat Geo, but can you talk about that process, or was that
was
that a done deal? You didn't have to pitch.
pitch. That was what would you call it? A commission. Didn't have to pitch it, but I have pitched. I've pitched more. I have an indie doc I'm trying to get money for that shoots up in the Arctic that I tried to get some that I've filmed. I've already shot 2 weeks on, and this young man named Sean Mendez has come on to executive produce it. But you would think that would mean that we suddenly have all of our money because he's maybe one of the richest 20-year-olds in the country, but we're still hustling and trying to find the money. And you have to. I mean, it's funny with documentary. It's different. Elaine was talking about a scripted pilot and a series. Docs are different because you don't know always what's going to happen, right? You have a desire for what's going to happen. You have what I like to say is a North Star. Like you know what you're pursuing. You know what that fissure is, right, in the ice that you're going to pick at, right? But the best documentaries are born of surprises. So how do you pitch that?
Right. Right.
You can't pitch, well, I don't really know what's going to happen, can you? So you have to pitch a kind of a passion and a kind of curiosity and a kind of hunger to discover something with the knowledge that something lies up there or wherever it is, right? So that's pitching docs. Fiction is a whole nother thing. It's much more, as Elaine said, I think it's much more performance because there's a script.
Right.
So it's kind of apples and oranges, docs and fiction in that sense.
Right.
Pitches that I've partaken in that have been successful didn't feel like pitches. They felt like conversations, even though they were pitches, but
Right.
I didn't feel like I was standing on stage and being stared at. Because when I feel like that, the ship sinks very quickly, right? I'm not a performer, but I love ideas. I love trading and exchanging ideas, and talking passionately about things I'm working on. There's nothing I like more. And if a pitch ends up like that, then I'm in a good place. If I feel like I have to perform and sing and dance, so to speak, it's tough for me.
Right.
You can prepare for that, but you have to be true to who you are, is what I would say. If you have acting in your background, you can be many different things. But if you're not an actor, you have to really be grounded in who you are and be true to yourself, because people will feel that you're not, otherwise, right?
Right. Yeah, you're ultimately selling yourself, and
really
great
the idea. I mean, I wouldn't say you're selling yourself, but you are the vessel.
Right.
You are the cable through which the idea travels to somebody's desk. So you have to also not get in the way of the idea. Let the idea shine. You don't want to upstage your own idea.
Right.
Someone, well, that person's interesting. Maybe they'd be a good, radio host, but that idea was for shit, that's not where you want to be either, right? You want to get your stuff made, right?
I mean, everybody's trying. I know have you had any experience? I know we have to like wrap it up really quick. I could just sit here all day and just chit chat like this, but Michael, have you had any success or any opportunities to pitch during Corona?
Yes, I did. I did 2 virtual pitches for unscripted. Looks like some people are gone.
But yeah, we have to just, they're giving us their.
Oh, okay, so I did 2 unscripted pitches that went really well virtually.
Right.
But it was interesting, and it was good to have the attention when you're pitching virtually seems to be more in tuned. I kind of like it, I'm in my own space,
Right.
more comfortable, but
all in.
Wow.
Oh, hi. Good to see you. You came through on time. Okay, so I think that, I'm sorry. Do you have, now that we have you, Stacey, say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Did you maybe you can just go and do your quick elevator pitch if you have like of yourself.
Oh, okay. I am Stacey Muhammad. I am an independent filmmaker. I've been a filmmaker now for about 15 years. And I started out in the doc world. I did a scripted series in 2014 called For Color Boys Redemption. Michael is one of my producing partners. We've worked together on probably about 8 or 9 projects. We have 2 projects that we're working on now. And I'm also an episodic director and moving into the feature world in 2021.
Nice. And you were working on one of my favorite shows, Queen Sugar.
Thank you. Yes.
Goddess Ava. So looks like Sky's back on. So we know what that segue is. We're going to our first pitch.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. So now on to our first person pitching. I'd like to call up Anthony J. Van Dunk, who will be pitching All My Heroes Are Dead.
Hello, my name is Anthony Van Dunk, born and bred in Brooklyn. My career is represented by 4 of the 6 Village People. In 2018, I became the Brick House became my visual laboratory. In January of this year, every day I had a different show on Brooklyn free speech. But let me bring you up to speed to All My Heroes Are Dead. So All My Heroes is a 30-minute multi-camera franchise comedy about a strong-willed superstar interview host who is fired by the networks. While trying to reinvent herself, she stumbles in a way of conjuring up historic figures who have been influenced by their observations of mankind and society as is now. The characters, we have Sally McIntosh, woman 46. The protagonist is strong, sharp-minded, determined to get back to the network that fired her. She's constantly disappointed by the people she used to call friends, learning how to work with others and listening to the guidance from people around her makes her goal feel closer. Michael Blowitz, male, the antagonist, Sally's old agent, who is currently the president of the network that fired her. He betrayed Sally by setting her up so the network could release her. For his betrayal, he became the president of the network. His job is to make sure that she never gets back on network television. George Carter, male, athletic, worldly, the cameraman from her old show who was fired because he was loyal to Sally. And George lets her move in with him when he loses everything, when she loses everything and a romance blossoms. For the week to week, you have Sally calling up agents, executives, her celebrity friends, trying to get her to come onto the new show. And while on the phone, they're all, yes, we're gonna be there. And they just can't wait to see her. But in the background, you have Mickey pressuring people that if they came to help Sally, he would destroy her career. He would destroy her career. While at the network at the public access network where her show is, the equipment is failing. Mickey always assures her that she's going to make it back to the top, and she's got a sage called Pop who's giving her advice on what's going on. John, the head of the public access channel, is always trying to give her compliments, but with the chaos in the channel itself, he's never able to finish it. Mickey consistently spies on Sally to make sure that she's not going to make it to the top. And her show, which goes live, you have her guests who said they were going to be there, never make it in. And Pop tells her, I know somebody who could fill in, but they're really never a great guest. So in a panic, Sally conjures up her first guest and has an amazing, amazing show. After the show, you have half the cast, half the crew that is just terrified of what just happened, and half the crew that's amazingly excited about what they just produced, except for Sally, because she's never too sure if she can do it again. That's all my heroes are dead.
Okay, so let's, does anybody want to start with feedback? I think you should start with a genre because I was getting a little lost.
It was a 30-minute comedy.
Did you? Okay.
I said it was a 30-minute multi-camera franchise comedy.
Oh yeah, franchise comedy. Okay, so I guess once you said franchise, I started like, what? You know.
And just franchise comedy is just one that every episode is separate, as opposed to a serial where you need to be at the next one.
Right, right. Like an anthology.
Right.
Okay. So panelists, any feedback?
Well, I felt like it was a lot of information, so it was kind of hard to follow. And I like what Keisha said about just letting us know what the genre is. And you telling us it was an anthology series, and I didn't get that it was a comedy at all. So, you know, that didn't really come across. It didn't seem like anything, the subject was funny. You know, it just seemed like a lot of information. So I was just trying to follow the story. So it kind of took me out of it versus just simply stripping it down and just giving us the basics of what the show is.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, I would say just, you know, to try to simplify the pitch a little bit, I think, and kind of, you know, for me, kind of concentrate on what, you know, some of the character arcs are, like who these characters are. I know you touched on it, but, you know, like what the arc is. I got a little lost as well. So I think like really like honing in on the most important elements, which, you know, is character and their arcs and what they're learning, I think would kind of help us to get a better sense of exactly what's happening. It felt a little convoluted, you know, it did. Sometimes too many details is too much. Mm-hmm. And I think like, again, just kind of honing in on who those characters are and what their arcs are, I think will kind of, once you establish, kind of, I guess, simply establish what the genre is. I think I missed a little bit of that as well, so.
For me, I felt that as soon as you said what her struggle was, as soon as you said what's going to be the thing, every episode she's going to be trying to get back onto network television, back onto the big leagues. I just felt that you already set it up for failure with that, because the one thing that a series needs in order to keep on going is for the protagonist to never really get what their goal is. You have to take it away from them all the time. And even though you said like this one guy is going to be like butting up against her all the time, I didn't feel like it was enough to keep the series going, because most series don't make money until the 3rd season. So you need to start thinking about things and what can last like forever. And so you really need to have an infinite storyline that's going to keep us wondering what's going to happen infinitely. And the way that you posed it, you know, he's always looking at her, she's trying. It always seems to me like the same story. So I think that's going to be your major stumbling block as you go ahead pitching that. So you just want to, and sometimes it's like, take the characters that you love so much about this and just build on that, make it character driven, and then make it the worst thing that could happen to those characters. And I think you might be able to further develop the story into something that'll make me feel like it's going to be able to run forever.
I could quickly add a couple things. Starting with the storyboards threw me off. It felt like you were pitching an animated series, which I realize you weren't, but I think it you know, in terms of having a sizzle reel to sell a concept, I think it undermined the concept in a sense, because I'm thinking animation and I'm looking at the drawing and thinking, well, you know what I mean? Because storyboards really are for like planning out composition of shots, not for selling ideas, unless they're extraordinary, you know? And this is a concept, it's a high concept. If I'm not mistaken, this is a talk show host who accidentally conjures dead people on air. Right. Is that right? Yes. Okay, that's a log line, man. That's a log line. The way I just fed it back to you, right? And so I was just distilling, and like from the storyboards, we see Harriet Tubman, we see Frederick Douglass. I mean, the possibility for comedy and for absurdity is tremendous with those people, right? In the modern age. Right. But you never talked about that. You talked about the psychological makeup of your talk show host, which is the least interesting part to me. Okay. I want to know how Frederick Douglass is dealing with Brooklyn 2020. You know, that's material that's ripe for comedy. So I think you're in process and you're still developing, but you know, the talk show format in and of itself is kind of maybe a little trite, a little played out, but maybe this is a way of reinventing it, and it's a way of doing a half-hour comedy that takes place on one set. I assume you never leave. It's like that Larry Sanders Show or something of that nature, right? Right. Anyway, I mean, I think you got to keep developing it, but I think the real humor lies in this accidental conjuring of dead folk. Right. You know, and they shouldn't. I mean, you know, what if occasionally they're not beloved, brilliant world changers? They're also assholes and demons. You know, I mean, mix it up. I don't know. It's a comedy, right? So. Right.
So I was burying the lead with the not putting that first.
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think that's true. Yeah.
That was really awesome. Like, good job, and you know, the ideas, they flow. You know, I think like less would be more. Okay. Thank you. Sky, who do we have next?
First we have is Tanika Williams, who will be pitching her project Sanctuary.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Tanika Sky, and I want you to imagine for a moment someone sharing with you that their mother left their home country when they were 2, and they were not reunited with their mother until they were 30. Or someone saying that their grandmother left their children to come to America. And it wasn't until after 40 years that the mother revealed that her mother, in fact, left her when she was 2 in search of a better future. Or for the couple who have been together for many years, not until some event happens that they realize that they each were left by their mothers at young ages in pursuit of something else. Sanctuary is a 4-part experimental documentary that looks at what happens when immigrant mothers leave their daughters in pursuit of a different reality, and seeks to connect this event that happens in real time to the changes that causes in the body over time. And part 1 is a 60-second piece that simply states the data that backs up what happens specifically within African Caribbean communities and immigrant women who become mothers over a generation, and looking at the different birth outcomes as it relates to that. Part 2, which is currently in production, takes 6 women from 3 countries across 3 different decades of migration and puts the mothers and daughters together in conversation around the theme of what was your first winter like in America. Part 3 reflects on our political climate as we all are finding ourselves leaving a political regime where there was a very strong anti-immigrant rhetoric, and people who are right here in New York City suddenly being faced with the threat of detention and ICE raids, and new threats that arise for people who have settled into this place. And part 4 takes 4 generations of women back to the place where their maternal line started, in the hopes that going to the place where the family matriarchs are buried, the house that the mothers and grandmothers grew up in, that place will allow them the space to finally unpack their stories. And the 4th part is my story. And I am one of 5 generations of women who at some point has all been left by her mother in pursuit of something else. Thank you.
This is a revelation.
There is something else going on that has to do with being a Black woman in America.
You're a witness and the revelation.
When African immigrants and Caribbean immigrants come here, their babies are equal to white babies in size. But after a generation, then they start to look like African American babies, even when they're from the poorest countries. Repeated insults to your psyche over and over and over again, it revs up your system so that it actually starts to wear you down. You take a woman who is essentially having a stress test to her body, which is pregnancy and childbirth, and you put her in this volatile situation where she's weathered and worn down by repeated insults, and then she's in a system that maybe isn't out for her best interest, you get a volatile mix.
And so very quickly, that is archival footage of when I went to Jamaica, when I met my great-grandmother for the first time. And it's a combination of her voice and the voice of noted medical journalist Linda Villarosa.
Does anybody want to start first?
I'll jump in. Yeah. I think it's beautiful. I have some questions, and in terms of thinking about the pitch, I mean, where you ended, for me, would have been a beautiful beginning, right? Because it was personal, right, and subjective, and it wasn't sort of an abstraction. And I think I would have leaned in, you know. I find the concept deeply compelling, and it's a story that's not often told. Right, and it's part of our world and part of our reality. But I think it's a beautiful subject, an important subject. So do you imagine where? It's obviously not a commercial pitch. It's an art film. It's something that would live in a gallery, perhaps, or yeah. I mean, I think that maybe talking also in the pitch about a collage style, right? And sort of how you would use and manipulate medium and elements, but as a subject to tackle. I think it's beautiful and compelling and important. Yeah.
Thank you. No log line. You're really good with log lines.
Anyone else have any comments? We have about 3 minutes left.
I'll jump in. Tanika, I agree with Tony. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's poignant and extremely important. You know, it's interesting, I think, to kind of explore, you know, what's compromised, or, you know, the things that are lost culturally when immigrant families seek a better reality in America. And I don't really think we've explored that too much. So I agree with Tony that this is something that would probably live in a gallery, very much an art film. And I also agree with his point in terms of, like, you know, possibly making that last part the first part, because it is your personal story. I also love the fact that it's kind of like what bite-sized content, you know, if you're talking about making these like mini docs. I think it's perfect for the gallery space. But yeah, I think it's an absolutely beautiful and necessary project that you're doing. Congratulations on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you were asking me for a log line. A project like this, you don't want a log line, man. You don't want to pitch it like it's a commercial project. It's the important thing to remember is, like, know what it is you want to make, right? And talk about it and present it in a way that's in the world of what it is you want to make, right? So no, if you had a log line for this, I would have been totally confused. I would have expected a sitcom. You know, because you could do a sitcom approach to this subject matter, but that's not what you're looking to do.
All right, noted. Thank you.
Do you have any questions back and forth? Do you have any questions for our panelists? We have about 2 minutes.
I've followed everyone's work, and I've looked at the previous pitch competitions before. And so I think that there's a lot that been shared in that context, and I've been able to pull from that. I do really appreciate the feedback. Ironically, I am currently in residence in a fellowship through BRIC Lab. So it is part of what I'm doing for my fellowship. And I love that immediately where they saw it was belonging to an art space. So that lets me know that it's continuing to be on the right path. And I'm just curious. Actually, I do have one quick question. I'm curious for the fourth part, which I do want to go to Jamaica and film, how I can, where I should look to raise funds to go to do that. Because, you know, parts 1 and 2 are pretty much done, but parts 3 and 4, I will need funding to do. Because it's not,
if you go on Collab, 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 just look up Collab Sundance on Google search, and you'll find it. And they have a portion there that is just like how to find support or like possible grants. And from there, you can, it's like every single grant that's available. It's every grant that's available. And this kind of project definitely, I mean, there's so much competition for the grant space right now. And the good thing about it, the good news, and I get turned down for grants all the time, but I have gotten several. So the good thing about it is that the more you write those grants, the more you actually get to know yourself, your strengths, they strengthen all the time, your project goes deeper. And so it's, you always have to think about it as like something that's going to help you regardless of whether or not you get that grant. So, but you there's so many out there, but Sundance Collab, they definitely put it on their website, and there's so many, especially for women, so many, especially for BIPOC, and for this kind of project. So definitely you have a lot of good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sky, who do we have next?
Great, thanks, Tanika. The next couple of people we'll pitching is Hannah Marianetti and Moni Bell for Scrambled. And since we're live on YouTube, I just want to note that there's some language in the next clip that's not suitable for younger audiences.
Hi, I'm Hannah Marianetti. I'm an actor and editor and filmmaker that lives in New York.
I'm Moni Bell. I'm an actor, writer, and producer in Brooklyn. Marcus, if we could roll the sizzle reel, please.
You're Deb.
I am Deb, yes.
You're younger than I thought.
My daughter? How the hell was I supposed to know she's your daughter? Clear away.
There's typically a video.
There is a video.
How much are they paying you?
For $55,000, I would have had twins.
Wow, okay. That was quick.
We love Zoom.
You're Deb.
I am Deb, yes.
You're younger than I thought.
My daughter? How the hell was I supposed to know she's your daughter? Clear away.
I'm actually caring for Hillary. And she has lupus. How much are they paying you?
For $55,000, I would have had twins.
Do you not want to do this with me?
You really gonna eat that?
Base stirs of filet.
I got it.
Okay, great. So what you just saw was Scrambled, which is a show about an intergenerational family of mostly queer women who decide to get pregnant at the same time. And just as a disclaimer to get this right out of the way now, that the actors that were chosen for the sizzle were actually a predetermined group of actors, and we really do plan on casting this show and this family to reflect the diversity that we see in Brooklyn.
So the Scrambled world is zany, the dialogue is really quick and witty, and the relationships are intimate and frustratingly familiar. So Hannah's pulling up the Scrambled family tree, which you see right here. The family matriarch is 79-year-old Zizi, and the show centers around the pregnancies of her grandchildren and their various relationships. Also, any character with a B next to their name is pregnant or otherwise expecting a baby. Jennifer is a pregnant woman without a partner whose overbearing Jewish mother, Gina, steps up to co-parent to Jennifer's understandable horror. Jennifer is the kind of woman who always has dirty dishes in the sink and tries to start Dry January every other month. She's a stand-up comic. Jennifer's sister Ari and Allison are college sweethearts. Ari is a workaholic who realizes that she might not actually want a family after her wife Allison has already become pregnant. Allison's sarcasm covers up her fear that she might actually be outgrowing her relationship. They watch a lot of reality TV. Judith and Anna have a 30-year age gap and vastly different financial circumstances. Their relationship is arguably the most stable, but they disagree on if Anna should continue to work as a professional dominatrix. We said it's relatable. May is Judith's transgender child from a previous relationship who is adopting a child of their own. May is the kind of person who gets stopped by the New York Times street style photographers on their way to the grocery store, hungover.
So yeah, this pilot begins at the insemination, which is what you just saw. And over the course of the next 10 episodes, we see the pregnancies, we also see miscarriages, we see adoption, menopause, and transitions, which all culminate in the birth of this new generation. Moni and I feel that this show is important right now because most portrayals that we've seen of lesbians on TV and film focus on the tragedy or isolation, whereas Scrambled is really playful and more likely focuses on the joy, like queer joy. It's a celebration of queer joy, community, and reproductive agency. Even though the circumstance that you saw was incredibly unconventional, we feel that the relationship dynamics between these characters are actually quite universal.
Yeah, it's incredibly funny, twisted, and hormonal. And every episode will leave you feeling like you just drank a cup of hot cocoa.
So thank you for spending, thank you for spending your Thursday with us, and we're really excited to hear your feedback.
Hi, who would love to jump in first? Anyone?
Have you shot a full episode, or you just shot bits for Sizzle?
We shot an entire pilot.
Yeah, I mean, this feels to me. I mean, this is not really my oeuvre, my sort of style of work that I make, but it seems to me that it's entirely execution dependent, right? Like, you think about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you think about High Maintenance, think about these shows that were just made and were put out there and were discovered, and they built their own sort of following and their own fan base, right? They, maybe they pitched and they said, well, to hell with this, people aren't going to see it, I'm just going to make it and get it out there. This feels to me like you just got to make it and get it out there. Like, the cast has to be really funny. The writing has to be really, really great. I don't think you're going to sell this based on a pitch, is my 2 cents. I think you got to make it, and maybe BRIC is the place, maybe that's what you're thinking. Maybe, talk to Keisha. I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can inbox me. We have an open pitch coming.
I'll say that, I started this conversation when I introduced my work I started as an actor, and then I went into the playwriting space, and then I eventually made a web series called Reasons Why I'm Single. I made that series because nobody else believed in me. And that might be the case in your case, that nobody's gonna believe in you until, like Tony said, until you do it for yourself and you show them. I have to say though, with what I've seen that you've shot, I don't think that the level it's almost like you're gonna talk people out of it. It's like this. I own a production and casting company as well, right? When people audition for me, I like to look at their other work. Sometimes they put up reels that actually talk me out of them. So I would say get rid of what you have that you've shown us, because it has, poor cinematography, not great acting, or at least it doesn't show off the actors in the best way. When I did my web series, I tried very hard to get a director on board, and nobody else wanted to direct it. But I did hire a great cinematographer who helped me to understand the rules and how to make something look great, even though it was on a shoestring budget. So there are ways of accomplishing this, but definitely what you showed didn't do that. And I actually love the fact that you guys said, like, the reason why you wanted to make it is because of this. So definitely start with that every time you're pitching it, or even when you're talking to yourself, because in the end, it doesn't matter if anybody else likes it, because you are the one that's going to drive your work to full execution, to screen. And you have to believe in it that much throughout. So it doesn't matter what other people think, you just have to bring your vision to screen. I just, definitely hit with, there's a lot of indie filmmakers out there that are like still in school, that are at NYU, that are, at New York Film Academy. They're trying to just film things. So you should hit up on people like that are trying to gain the experience, that have a good eye, that are learning these things, it's their craft. And then really think about what you're gonna shoot before you shoot it, because production is really hard. And I pre-produce things for like I finance my own indie films when I'm not given grants still. My last one cost me $40,000. It was 21 minutes long, but it is getting picked up. Now, whether that was picked up or not, it doesn't matter. I made that film for one reason. I wanted to show people that I can direct episodic. So I made a film that leaned into that space to express my own growth. And it had to be something that made me look better than I already did with my last film. So everything that you do, you have to elevate yourself. If you're not doing that, it's only gonna make people believe in you less. So I love the fact that you made this, why you made it, and now just make it as good as that reason. Make it look good.
Super helpful, thank you.
I'll quickly say I totally agree with Tony and Elaine. I think that, you know, quality work can really be a calling card. You know, it's a really good time in the industry, I think, that, you know, to kind of like show people what you can do, but production quality is so extremely important. I mean, so many people will not pay attention if the quality is not what it could be, right? And I think it's never been easier to make quality work. So I totally agree with Elaine. Like, you know, take the time. It doesn't even have to cost a lot of money. You know, we raised like $30,000 and did an 8-episode series. You know, we shot on the red. You know, but it really is important that you get, you know, a skilled cinematographer. You know, it's worth the investment, right? Because you will have a piece of work that is a calling card, and people won't just say, hey, this is a great idea. But, you know, like Tony said, if you don't sell this on a pitch, right, but you have something to show that you created it yourself, but it's got to be quality. So, you know, I totally agree with what Elaine just said. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys check out Girl 6, Spike Lee's film.
Girl 6?
Reminded me of the film. I worked on it about it.
You guys did a great job. I'd also probably lose the graph if you are gonna pitch it, because it was kind of like a lot.
Okay.
You know, just for focus. You just want to kind of tell your authentic story and just talk to people, and don't like rely on props necessarily or flow charts.
Thank you.
Okay, so who do we have next, Guy?
So we got Antoine Pierman, and he's going to be pitching The Ballad of Icarus 2000, BAB.
I can't unmute. I need permission to show myself. Thank you. All right. Hey, hi, my name is Antoine Pierman, and this is The Ballad of Icarus. It's a limited animated musical series. Enjoy.
All my life, I worked hard to get to where I am now. Now I look back and I ask myself, was it worth the cost?
Why? It's just business. Dog. Music is God's gift to you.
I gotta do whatever it takes.
I want to unlock your music's full potential. This tool will free you of the world's restrictions.
Low-key is the hottest new artist killing the game.
He's the only one who can get close to this silent night. This time he paid his dues.
This is the price he pays for power.
Your generation has no taste in music.
The Ballad of Icarus.
So I gotta let you hear, go deeper and deeper into your soul, let it speak through your speakers until it's sold, make a million, I'm feeling like every gold, there's no real end to sailing, G practical, yeah, like Life is like a bottle on the beach until you hit the lotto, but the lotto ain't free. If you really wanna know how to reach your destiny, there's only one way to go, yo, and that's deep.
When you start to go deeper, will you be fearful of what you might find? And when you start to go deeper, will you just run off, get lost and hide? When you start to go deeper, will you be fearful of what you might find? And when you start to go deeper, will you just run off, get lost and hide?
Hi. So that was the Ballad of Icarus, also followed by Afro Banzai's Parent. And basically the story is about an ambitious young man who's made a deal with supernatural forces in order to have a great rap career. You find characters such as Loki, which is the young man himself who, you know, he's naive, but yet very talented. And he's also, his mentor is Barry Jones. Barry Jones is a man with a mysterious past, but also a well of musical knowledge. You also find Ella Sinclair. She works for this label called Mount Olympus Records. And Mount Olympus is this entity that exists within the world that uses music as a way to fuel the gods of, my time's up.
I love your pitch. I thought it was great. I thought the characters look so interesting. It's definitely characters that I want to see. I didn't need to see both of the projects, because then I was like, wait a minute, I thought I was looking at Icarus, now it's this other one. So maybe just keep it to one, because that's really all you need. Or just like focus on the characters, just showing the characters while you're talking. Like, I'm looking at you, you feel like you are this. Just come out there and say, like, I love animation, I love hip hop. I came up with this great idea about this guy who, like, I used to want to be a rapper and I would have done anything to do it. And now I wanted this character to have that dream and to make like a deal with the devil. There's an old movie that it's so silly that I can't remember the name, but the character made a deal with the devil to get what he wanted. So just like compare it to that. It's a famous movie. One of these coaches are gonna know it for sure. Very old movie, but it's great. And I love those characters. So I think it's an easy sell. You're obviously doing it. Know what it cost you to do that sort of, to do that. Just have that in your back pocket so that you know what it is, like who your team is also is important to something like this, how you're gonna execute it, how many minutes each episode is gonna be, where you see it. Like, those are the things that I wanna know. Like, this is a 7.5 minute thing. It's gonna be on the internet. I wanna gain a following. It's gonna get more. Like, those are the kinds of things that I felt like you could definitely be answering in this pitch as well. But very well done. Love the way the characters look, and I love the idea. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I was just gonna call on you, Michael. I was like, I thought you'd have.
I definitely saw it. You did a great job. You captured, just the essence of the hip hop world and what, a lot of us think that, it's kind of, an evil force guiding it, So I definitely dug it. I definitely, think there's forward, especially now, that you can kind of say a lot. You could say a lot with animation, you can't say in live action. So I definitely think it's something that we need to kind of see, and is a great way to kind of educate people on hip hop and just the world of it. So I love it. I love it. Great job.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone saw this news item today about the statistics around adults watching animation and how viewership is up by like 20% during the pandemic for animated series, like Adult Swim, right? And so I would think that this is a great moment to sell this? And I assume that's all your art. You did all the animation, right? No? Oh, you have collaborators. Okay.
I have collaborators, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I think there's special, there's, you know, I don't know if anyone on this panel knows how you go about setting up an animation series, but it's like, it's different in some ways than pitching scripted and pitching nonfiction, right? But there's got to be a way to do it, and also maybe in some ways just getting stuff up and out there and being discovered. You know, you have the vision, you have the team. You know, if you can you know, just start putting it out there and have people find it is one way to go. You know, do you have like a Bible for an entire series already laid out?
Not only do I have a Bible, but I wrote a script. And so I got a celebrity Zoom reading of the first episode of one of the series, and it's read by Harry Lennox.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, of the Blacklist and stuff like that.
It feels really fresh to me, and you know, it plays by its own rules. It has a vision. You know, the question is, how do you get it seen? You know, how do you set it up? And I don't know if anyone can answer that. Any of these panelists can give you some concrete advice in terms of how to go out in the world with it.
Yeah, what are your plans? Because I know we unfortunately have to wrap up, but what are you?
My goal, well, right now, I was fortunately able to get Harry to come on to be, as far as Sound 11 intent to be executive producer. I'm using that powered by this this new agent I got to pitch it to networks. My goal is to increase my pitching skills so I can pitch it to a network in hopes to get it made. I already have the first African-American Japanese studios interested in animating it, but they need the funds. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe try even Seed and Spark. This seems like this would be great for crowdsourcing, where you know you can try that route.
I do want to note that all the music we produced is 100% in-house. We've done all the music. The music you heard, we've done that ourselves. These are our artists, the music, the talent, everything.
Okay. I think that's a huge part of your project as well. Keisha said something great about the crowdfunding. I think it definitely would do really well in that space since you have so much already. Also using that aspect. But again, I want to know, is this a half hour? Is this for web? Likely if it's made, it's first because you haven't done animation before, right? You haven't?
No, I put together an animation team to make just this proof of concept.
Right, so because you personally don't have the, you know, the history of it, you're better off starting with small bites, like just to show yourself and then let someone else try to, you know, pick you up from there. This way you can get it done. You need to know like what your budget was for that amount. The project that I have with Keisha now with BRIC TV is actually an animated series. It's a 3D animated series, something that we were able to do during COVID on a budget, but it's very expensive to do animation. So you need to understand your budget and be able to pitch that as well when you're, you know, when you're creating your crowdfunding or however else you're going to try to get funds for it. But I love the idea, and I think you could really fund a lot.
Really great job. Sky, who do we have next?
Thanks so much, Antoine. Next couple of people pitching will be Bridget Stevens and Brianna Marshall Bernal. They're pitching Lowest Places, Lost Time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bridget Stevens.
And my name is Brianna Marshall Bernal.
And we're the writers and creators of Lowest Places, Lost Time, which is a drama about two African-American women who have endured insurmountable adversities and overcoming their lost places in their lives of victims that were commercially sexually exploited as children. They found themselves discovering their lost time while incarcerated as their past catch up to them.
We are set in the year 2020 during this global pandemic, which forces a women's correctional facility to go on lockdown and go virtual with all mental health evaluations. There are two main characters. One character is faced with the conflict of surrendering her luxurious life that she has built from nothing, while the other character is faced with the conflict of being released early and overcoming the guilt of a huge mistake that led her to being incarcerated. Through the mental health evaluation protocol, it is discovered that their paths connect them in a dynamic way.
We have Elena Reed, a 40-year-old first lady and evangelist who has a struggle from her past of being a victim of CSEC and a 15-year drug addiction. Despite her struggle, she now views life differently and she carries her heart on her sleeve.
Next, we have Rhonda Singleton. Rhonda's in her mid-20s and a victim of CSEC as well. She has a hard exterior due to her rough past and has been incarcerated for 5 years due to unintentional neglect that led to the fatal death of her child. So in this first season, you will see the main characters dealing with internal conflict as well as the remnants of their past through the virtual mental health evaluation. We start the season by seeing Elena packing and writing a letter to her husband. We later see her in a hotel room having an emotional breakdown and calling 911. The next scene is Rhonda's first encounter with Elena when she witnesses Elena being booked. This sets the series in motion. The following episodes pivot back and forth between each of the main characters having therapy sessions and unveiling the lowest places of their past. There are 4 completed seasons written, totaling 25 episodes, and we are currently in the process of writing season 5. Although currently a web series, we are open to expanding this into a TV series. Therefore, Lowest Places can have an endless number of episodes that can go in an array of directions.
And because of the myths surrounding CSEC and human trafficking, we wanted to shed light on the unspoken topics that people are afraid to talk about and break the myths around them. With that said, we went outside the box to tell these stories while captivating the audience and enhancing it with cliffhangers and plot twists. The stories told here are moving and eye-opening and sure to grab the hearts of the people. We also decided to highlight a missing individual at the end of each episode and help to fight against the CSEC and human trafficking. We thank you for your time, and if you could just roll the reel for us and enjoy your night. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have been assigned to your case for the completion of an assessment.
Lady, there's not enough hours in the day to explain what happened.
Thank you.
So let's jump right in with the feedback. I'd like to actually call on Stacy. Do you have some feedback?
I knew you were going to call me.
Bridget.
So congratulations. I really enjoyed your pitch. You know, I mean, I really enjoyed how passionate you are about the story. And clearly you've put in the work. If you've written 4 seasons, right, you've put in the work. So congratulations on that. I think it's an important story to tell. I do want to echo the note that we gave an earlier picture to Elaine's point again about production quality. And I think that this is a conversation that we have to start having, you know, just a real honest conversation with content creators about the value of the productions that they make, right? I mean, I think that it's easier in this day and time to make quality productions for a lot less money than before. So my note is the same. You know, you really have to take the time and make the investment in creating a quality production. And I don't think we see that here, right? We don't see that here. So just in terms of like, you know, hiring a cinematographer and hiring, you know, skilled actors, particularly if you're talking about doing a web series. I mean, certainly there are some web series that haven't been the best in terms of quality that got picked up, but why not present the very best quality that you possibly can, right? So that would be my biggest note. Like the clip took me out of it. The pitch, I was 1000% there with you. But in terms of the production quality of the actual media, it took me out of it. So that's pretty much what I have to say in terms of that.
Michael, can I ask you to chime in as well?
Yeah, I mean, I echo the same thing. I have a, sex trafficking is a passion of mine. It's something I advocate for because I did a film called The Trade about sex trafficking. So, I definitely, I was pulled in by your pitch. I was all in. But like Stacey said, once I saw, the video, I wasn't sure if it was a sizzle, a trailer, or you know, so that kind of took me out of it. And you know, I love that you guys wrote, you know, 4 seasons of it, but to me, it's kind of like, okay, so let's fine tune, you know, not have 5 seasons, but let's really work on what the first season looks like and make sure you have everything that you need to tell a story, you know, the proper way, because it deserves it, you know. And you guys, sometimes it's kind of, you know, it's quality versus quantity, you know. So, you know, so don't, my advice, but don't get too far ahead of yourself with trying to have 5 seasons, because at the end of the day, what are you really going to do with 5 seasons written and produced? You know, it's just a lot to undertake, you know, for seasoned filmmakers with money. So, you know, so I know for you guys, it's tough to try to overtake and do something on such a large scale. So I would definitely just reassess where you guys are, where you want to go, where do you want it to go? If it's web series, do you want to pitch to a series, and just kind of, you know, reset, because, you know, the topic isn't going anywhere. It's still happening, you know, it's very topical, you know, and you guys have a lot to say. But I would just kind of just see how you guys can just take it up a notch, because it deserves it.
And
I would,
sorry, go ahead.
I would say also, like, when you two were pitching, especially the fact that you were pitching together, like, I got the camaraderie. I got that you guys really work well together. I got that you're equally dedicated to one another in this project. So that was so awesome. And, you know, in this case, in the last case where the women were like doing this home-based series, I gave them the idea, like, okay, that, you know, what they put together talked me out of it in terms of production value. But your show, actually, I'm not sure if it's something realistically that an independent filmmaker can put together because of the jail, because of the where of it. So like, I produce, I write, I direct, and a lot of the times I change the location just based on the fact that knowing that I'm going to be the person making this film. So sometimes you have to just think, you know, unfortunately, with the budget that you can afford. However, you know, there are some times that I write knowing I'm never going to be able to make this. This has to be sold. And this might be one of those projects that you don't need to have something other than a great written script. Great, I'm talking great written scripts that represents it. I love, especially at the end, where you said that you have the missing person at the end. I think that if you're gonna shoot anything and shoot it well, you can shoot that. Like, almost like the consecutive missing people at the ends, or like whatever that storyline is, because it won't be set in the jail. And that might be really compelling and draw us into wanting to know like more about that story. But I think you have to focus on making these scripts like so tight. And I don't know if it's a 30 or 1 hour drama. It seems like a 1 hour drama to me.
Actually, right now it's a web series.
It's a web series right now. Yeah.
And you already have produced the 4 seasons that you wrote?
We have season 1, and we have currently released 4 episodes. But again, yeah, that is our problem, is that actually Bridget's in Atlanta and I'm in Long Beach, California. So we actually shot everything via Zoom, like we're talking now, and we did everything here. So, you know, with that, and then other castmates are in North Carolina. So we cast and did everything virtually to make this during COVID. So we've actually never met in person actually either. So yeah, we actually came together during COVID and created this. So everything is set right here on Zoom. So.
Well, that, you know, there you go. That's a good wrap up and a good segue. What an inspirational way to get together. But I would just even put in the 2 cents of, you know, just start doing research visually and just kind of see what like your visual style could look like, you know, and kind of hone in on that. And it's good, but it's the same thing at BRIC TV. You know, we hate shooting via Zoom. You never know what the aspect ratio is going to be, what the quality is going to be like. So, you know, I don't want to be redundant, but we gotta keep it moving. Who do we have next, Guy?
Thank you.
Thanks, Bridget and Brianna. Next person up is Abba, and she's pitching Tomorrow.
Good evening, all. I'm Abba. I'm a multi-hyphenate actress, writer, and director. And I want to ask you, what would you do to protect a way of life? A seeming recluse grapples with just this dilemma while entertaining a charming stranger in her home over dinner one night. Tomorrow follows events that unfold during the course of an evening when Nadia, a caretaker and recluse, finds herself entertaining a stranger. What began as a lovely dinner takes a tragic turn when niceties are put aside and Nadia asks her guests a question. Tomorrow is a short psychological thriller, a la Misery Meets Lost, with a dash of Castaway thrown in for good measure. It's a cautionary tale, and it's my modern reimagining of an age-old history, one that's been built on pillaging and plundering of lands and people. Tomorrow was actually originally born out of my feelings of powerlessness. And when I decided that I wanted to reframe that as a Black woman, as a mother, I started to explore what taking power back could actually look like. And to me, why this short film is important, because I think it's imperative for others, the world actually, to see what it would look like for a Black woman to run a world or a country or her own space. Thank you so much for listening to my pitch, and I really look forward to the feedback.
So where do we start? Tony, do you have any?
Sure, I jump in. I love the last thing you said, right? That was the most interesting part for me. But then I found myself taking that. What would the world look like if a Black woman had the agency to run it, right? And then I'm thinking about this dinner party and the fact that it's a short film and it's Misery meets Castaway meets Lost. And I'm like, I'm confused, right? I mean, so there's elements in there that are you're personally connected to, that are beautiful, right? I don't know that. So in some sense you have the bones, but you don't have the flesh yet, right? You have the impulse to make something that answers these questions and expresses these feelings for yourself. And those are the parts of your pitch that were compelling to me. The personal motivation. The story and the characters was, to me, the weakest part of the pitch, which is fascinating because usually it's the other way around, right? So, you know, I guess that's pretty much it. But the last thing you said, I loved. And as a premise, I thought it was beautiful, you know, and maybe you need to just begin with that and then figure out what is the story, because it doesn't feel like that impulse, that the last thing you said, doesn't feel like it ends up as a dinner party with a recluse and a stranger. It just didn't feel like it connected somehow, you know? So anyway.
Yeah. Elaine, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I agree with Tony. Like, I loved when you said what taking power back would look like, what that would look like. I love when you said that. I would have definitely started with that. And you said it's a short film. Like, if it's a short film, first of all, did you write it already? How many minutes is it? How many?
It runs about 15 minutes.
So it's 15 pages. So I think that you could have told us what happens in those 15 pages very clearly.
Okay.
Scene by scene, like, this is, in the beginning, this is what this happens, and then this happens, and then this, and then this. Because you said the words, she's a recluse, then you said, and she's a caretaker. And to me, recluse is like, she's totally alone by herself all the time. But if she's a recluse caretaker, it's like, it's not, it can't be, it's one or the other. So right there, it became like confusing as soon as you said that. You definitely have, you know, the power to pitch. The other thing is that when you say like, I'm a director, I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I hear you. I've been there, I'm there. But you have to make a decision, I think, if you want to play that part or if you want to direct this movie, because you really have to make those decisions. Like, I still play in my movies sometimes, but it's very, directing is so hard. You have to be so focused. Like, I don't even want to produce when I direct. I have to just be in that creative head and not be thinking vanity wise. So you have to, you definitely have to think like, are you going to be that person or are you going to direct this? And you have to talk like a director, make us see the scenes and the cutoffs that's going to make us keep wanting to watch it.
Any other feedback?
Yeah, I totally agree with Tony and Elaine, Abba. And I can relate. I mean, I think, there's a big difference between having an idea, particularly one that's rooted in an experience as a Black woman, right? I mean, I sat with a feature film idea for 2 years without a fleshed out story, right? And so I think it's really important to figure out what story you're telling. Right. And I think, you pitched well, and obviously we can relate and we feel what you're saying, like we get it. Right. But what and where is the story? So really spend some time figuring out who this character is, and flesh that story out.
The other thing is that you didn't have to use like the bigger words, the niceties and the this and that. Just be very direct and simple as can be. Tell us what happens, because you just got to cut to the story and leave everything else out because nothing else matters.
I mean, Elaine, that really speaks to the fact that you have to be short and just write your pitch to be uttered aloud and not on the page. And that is just making everything a lot shorter, and it might look kind of truncated when you look at it, but then when you speak it, it's just like kind of less is more. Michael, did you want to?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like two stories, like everyone else said. The first story was, was great. I was into it. And then when you started with the other story, which was, you just kind of pitching, I was even more drawn in because I was like, I want to see that story. So I kind of forgot about the first story, but the first story was cool. But the second story, it felt like, I wanted to see it. You were more passionate about it. And it was more about you. So I'm like, okay, so I want that story to be developed. What does that world look like? And I want to see you play her, because, it just was busting out of you. So but, it's that's good, but it's kind of like, I just was kind of torn with which story is it, which film is it? And, so just kind of decide what that is to me. And, maybe it's two films.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abba. And good luck with it. Scotty, who do we have next? I think we have one last lucky pitcher.
Yeah, we have one more pitch tonight. Chris Mabry, and he will be pitching Colored Outside the Lines.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Mabry. I'm an Afro-Latino filmmaker from Philadelphia. And this is a clip from our upcoming pilot film called Colored Outside the Lines. Please enjoy.
Experience most days. I walk with the confidence of a crown on my head, but beware, there could be a target on my back. Every day I walk this colored line, I see something new. I guess I'll call it tomorrow. It gives me hope that I still have time left, that a bullet won't choose my body as its new home. For me, walking is a reminder to move forward. It is the only form of progress that I've ever known. The same Malcolm and Marcus strive for, the thing Nat Turner died for, but why am I always seen as suspicious? The only furthest thing from suspect. Is it the way I pick can levitate through the kinks of my hair? The way my melanin shields me from the sun? Or how my vernacular makes a curiosity peak? Is it the way my shoulders broaden as I pronounce my name? Pronounce every letter as if it was summoned for greatness to do God's work? Maybe that's why they choose to leave me holy, reciting the same gospel sung by Dylan Roof before he slaughtered the sanctuary, The same message we once preached, changed to ropes around our neck, tightening until I can't breathe. For Tamir, for Sandra, for Walter, my colored skin is probable cause, and every day I fear these observations turning into an autopsy.
Thank you for that. So Colored Out Sign is an animated pilot dealing with issues of racial inequality, police brutality, and just generally the African-American experience. It follows one character, a 14-year-old teenager named Khalil. He gets off a bus in a pristine suburban neighborhood and walks through this neighborhood, you know, like it's any other day. But as he walks, his thought process and his mental trauma is visualized through animation. And it's given this voice through spoken word poetry. Like many of you, I grew up in the inner city of Philadelphia. And when I was roughly about 10, my parents moved us to the middle of Pennsylvania, which into a white suburban neighborhood. So I was entirely out of my element. The good thing is that my house was close enough to school so I could walk. And I still remember the stares and the awkward looks I would get on my walk to school. I still remember the stress added to the fact that I was a teenager in a white neighborhood, kind of out of place and out of my element. And I still remember, as sad as it is, that if someone called the police on me and were, for whatever reason, you know, were suspicious of me, and I told the police that I lived in this neighborhood, I was always afraid they wouldn't believe me. So why me, right? Why do I deserve to tell this story or even get the privilege of telling this story, right? I just think about, you know, the fact that how many of us remember when Elijah McClain was murdered, right? Right before his murder, he begged for his life. And I think about that and I think back now and I think at any day that could have been me. All it would have taken is just one person to call the police and the incident to go wrong. And I think why this project is so important is because it's not just my story, it's the story of everyone involved in the project. We have 20 different Black animators from all across the world, each contributing, you know, their own unique perspective to their 30-minute section or 1-minute section. So it's a story really of all of us. And, you know, if I had to answer the question of why now, I would have to say that sadly, this kind of situation is kind of inevitable, right? Who knows when the next police killing may be, who knows how quickly it may happen. And so with this project, what I hope to do is convey a sense of the humanistic elements that inspire empathy within the audience. So the next time they're walking down the street and they see a Black teenager or a Black person in general, they're filled with the idea of this person being a person rather than just a threat. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That was so beautiful. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I was moved. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was moving. It's topical. It's necessary. I think that's the type of stuff we need to make now, to start conversations, to, you know, continue the conversation. And what do you, my question, how long is the series? Is it a half-hour series?
Right now we're doing a test pilot that's going to be roughly about 12 minutes. And that's with a collaboration of different animators, as I said.
Okay, it'd be a great job. I want to talk to you after this about that, but great job.
Yeah, Chris, I agree with Michael. Beautiful job. You know, I think that this would be beautiful in a museum. You know, I can't remember where I was, something at Mokata, you know, like the mixed media type of exhibitions. I think this would be beautiful in that space as well. And just one other thing that you said at the end kind of sits with me when you talk about, and this is really just so much about the pitch, but just artist to artist, Black artist to Black artist, when you talk about hoping to create empathy in other people. I think that we have to, and I respect that, but think about if that empathy isn't created, if that empathy isn't felt by those people, right? That we have to realize that we haven't done anything to deserve being in this space. And a lot of times we have to just create art for ourselves. So I just want to offer that to you, because I think a lot of times Black artists are creating art with the intention of changing a stereotype, with the impression that the folks who created the stereotype aren't aware of the damage that it's doing. They know, right? They know. So I think we have to be very careful not to create art for the white gaze. Not that this is that, but hoping that it infuses empathy in other people, kind of borders that a little bit. So I just offer that to you, artist to artist, because this is absolutely beautiful. Regardless of whether or not people feel empathy, this is absolutely beautiful. And for the folks who need to get it, they will get it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I thought it would work as a standalone short film. I've seen stuff like that at Sundance, not that exactly, but I've seen like short animation films at lots of festivals that did really well and really had the opportunity to get the filmmaker out there. I love festivals, and one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got in my entire career is when Rashada Nesto Green said to me, if you want to make films, make short films. Make short films, and then people will get to know you. And that's how I built my career. Because believe me, it was like one short film after the next trying to get it on. And then like this year, my latest film made it to Urban World. And last year it was Holly Shorts. You know, this can definitely get on that festival circuit. I think easily, quite frankly. I love spoken word. It's one of the things that I'm very close to because of the New York Poets Cafe and my affiliations with them. I thought it was beautiful in every way. One thing that you said that really confused me was a pilot film. Like, so
I stuttered through my words.
Like, is it a film or is it a pilot? And then you said that there were a lot of animators going into it, and they each had a 1 minute segment. Is it,
yeah.
So is it a 30-minute? What is it?
Yeah, so I apologize. I meant to just say pilot, but the word film got caught in my brain. They each contribute a 30 second to 1 minute second animation to the overall production.
And did you write a full 30-minute pilot?
Yes, we have a full 30-minute, full like about 15 to 20-minute script written out.
And then what I got from you was that that it was something that you said made me think that it was a live action, and then he goes into this world of animation to express himself. Is that?
No, so it's basically the articulation of his mental state set to animation. So you'll see scenes like you did where you see the rope tightening around his neck, but this is all representative of his mental state at the time.
Okay.
There was something you said. Yeah, I also thought that you were blending live action and animation, because he says as he walks down the street, his anxieties and his inner state is expressed in animation. But if the whole world is animation, how are you, you know what I'm saying? I also, like Elaine, I also got thrown off. And it's still not, I loved it, man. I thought it was beautiful. But to me, that's a short film, and it's a beautiful short film. It needs some sound design, it needs some other elements, but it holds its own as a short film. I don't understand how it becomes a half hour. I don't understand if there are scenes. I don't understand if there is a character journey, or if it's about sort of this poetic expression of a feeling state, which is what it is now. And it's perfect like that. Maybe this is the introduction, and then we go off and it's a day in the life. These are the things I don't understand that you can communicate in the pitch. But it's what you've presented is beautiful. But it's just not, to me, and I think to others, it's not clear yet where you're going next, I would say.
Gotcha.
The other thing that you said in it is like what I really liked about your pitch in general, like you really put yourself into it, and the way that you explain like why you wanted to make this film, and then that you grew up as a fish out of water. So basically, to me, part of what you said was, you know, I was this fish out of water. I was like the odd man in this space, and I was always wondering. So like that's a story, and then, but that's not what I got from the film that I saw. What I got was just wherever you are, that's what people are thinking, and I I understand that as your expression as well. But again, it was like, that's why I thought it might actually be, it's perfect as a short film, the way that it is, sound design, all of that stuff you put into it. And I think you're gonna get a lot out of the festival circuit, if not just getting to know the festival circuit. And then the other thing you might consider is actually making it a live action mixed with that, because you already have that aspect of it. And I think it could be really cool and might be even more poetic like that, like with a live action, a great young actor out there showing himself and then revealing his insides, even if he's like accepted in his white neighborhood by his, by his friends around him, but then this is how he feels anyway.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for sharing that lovely piece of work with us. And, to Elaine's point, Tribeca's deadline is coming up like very soon. Just FYI, if you want to just put it out there, definitely keep in touch and keep in touch with us, please follow all of us on Instagram if you would, and check out all their awesome work. As we know, and we've been unpacking, pitching is such a vital aspect of our process as filmmakers. It shows your unique voice, your brand, and your sensibility as a content creator. Be sure to practice your pitch and check us out if you might be interested in open pitches coming at BRIC on December 3rd. Thanks again. I think we're gonna just pitch it to Sky.
Unmute. Sorry. Thanks, Keisha. That was a really awesome evening. I just want to say thank you to our panelists and everyone that pitched tonight. It takes a lot of courage to get up on stage, whether it be a real stage or on Zoom, and it was really awesome hearing all your pitches. I just want to say a special thanks to Keisha. It's been really wonderful working with you on this program over the years. Also want to thank Rebecca and Marcus and the production team for running the show, the folks in engineering and master control for help with the YouTube and television streams, and of course our dedicated marketing team for promoting the event. As Keisha said, the final event in this series is the BRIC TV Open Pitch, which is on Thursday, December 3rd. And we are accepting applications for that. Just visit our website at bricartsmedia.org/pitch to learn more and apply. So again, my name is Sky McLeod, run the education programs. Please check out the website for more education offerings. And thanks for attending. Have a great night, everyone.